Good afternoon. So, Comic-Con was a couple weeks ago, and I went to this panel. It was called Writing and Mental Health. It was like one of the only panels that I was really looking forward to, that I had to make it to. Like, there was nothing that was going to stand in my way. Like, after the panel, I had to run through a crowd to make it to my John Barrowman photo op. It was like, I'm staying this whole time, but I really want to go to the photo op, obviously, because it's John Barrowman. So in this, it was two people talking, and they were both really good writers from what I can tell. I've never read any of their stuff, but I plan to because they're amazing people. And they asked us, like, for every writer in the audience to raise their hand. So obviously I raised my hand because I've published 2 books. I write all the time. This is my thing. I'm a writer. And then they asked for everyone to leave their hands up if they struggle with a mental illness. And I left my hand up. And I've never done that before. I have never, in a room of strangers, admitted that I struggle with a mental illness. So one of the things they talked about was one of them struggled with like depression and anxiety, more on my personal level, I believe, kind of in that same area. And then the other one struggled with it on such an intense level. Like, the way he described it, it was just heartbreaking for what this man goes through every day. And he had to leave the room before everybody else because he has agoraphobia, I think is what it's called. Like, he has a fear of being abandoned, so he asked all of us to stay in our seats, and then he left, and then we could all leave because he would have an attack if he didn't leave first. And one of the things they talked about coping with mental illness, but the thing that helped him is that he started blogging about it. And they called it coming out of the mental illness closet. And they talked about how important it was. And so I've been thinking about this the past couple of weeks about how I should do this and how I might feel better about myself and about what I go through to tell people about it. And what better way than to do one of my vlogs for it. I don't know how many people are going to listen to this, probably just my friends who already know I struggle with this, but who knows? Maybe everyone will watch it, I don't know. I don't really care because this is still something really important for me to talk about and say. Back in high school, like sophomore, junior year, I went through an emo phase. It was like totally ridiculous. Wore black all the time. Thought I was like too cool for people to be happy. Like, oh, that's not me. I have this mysterious dark side. I wrote a lot of depressing stuff. Not necessarily depressing stuff, but potentially depressing stuff. Like, I wrote a lot about death, and I wrote a lot about things that I didn't understand back then. It was just something to write about, to expand how I wrote. And there's a short prose that I've published for free for people to use for poetry slams because everyone was asking for it, called 13, and I wrote that during that phase. It was my junior year, and so I wrote this thing about something I had no idea about. Like, I hope I wrote it good because people like it, but I didn't know what depression was. I didn't know what anxiety was. I didn't know what mental illness was. I grew up not knowing about those things. Like, I grew up around people who poked fun at those things, who thought it was just something that you just got over and that you didn't talk to people about, and it wasn't really a thing. And then I started dating someone senior year who really just fucked with my head in ways that I didn't expect. He was not a happy person. He was depressed. He had anxiety. He struggled with suicidal thoughts every day, and I feel like that's when I started getting depression, and it just started growing from there because I didn't know how to cope with someone like that. I didn't know how to help them. I didn't know how to help someone who abused medication, and I didn't know how to help someone who cut, and I didn't know how to help myself. That relationship ended on a pretty bad note. I haven't seen him since then, but I talked to him about 7 months after we broke up. I was living out of state for a few months up in Yellowstone working, and I hadn't messaged him. I was absolutely terrified to talk to him because I felt like I was in the wrong. I had fallen in love with this man and he had not loved me back, and he triggered something inside of me that I didn't realize was there. And that's not the only reason I became depressed in high school. There was a lot of fucked up things that I did in high school that I'm not proud of, and I will never be proud of, and I will never talk to anybody about, because I was not a good person, and I never want to be that person again. So he messaged me about 7 months later. I was in Yellowstone, and he was like, hey, like, we just, normal chit chat, what's up, how are you? He was like, I went to a Haze Week concert, and I thought about texting you and asking you to come, but I didn't. And at the time I was like, oh, you should have, like, it's my favorite band. But then I realized that would have been a really bad idea, because I was still so engrossed in him and in love with him. And it's only been the past like couple years that I've finally gotten over him. This was like 4 years ago, mind you. And so he started talking to me, and he's like, I don't know what to do. This girl I'm dating, I think her name was Brittany. This girl I'm dating, Brittany, she is depressed, and she's suicidal, and she won't listen to me when I tell her that everything's going to be okay, and that there's a better tomorrow, and that I love her, and that I want the best for her. And he was going on, and I just finally said, you know what, Jarrett, I don't know how to help you, because you did that to me, and you pushed me away, like she's pushing you away, and I want to help. I want to tell you everything that you can do right, but obviously I don't know what to do right because I didn't help you. And that he was just kind of like, oh, and he apologized for it. And I feel like he didn't need to apologize in a way for his depression, but he needed to apologize for not realizing that I was trying to help. But I think he's doing better and stuff. So I didn't think my depression was that bad afterward. And then I lost someone really close to me almost 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years at the end of this month. And that was really hard for me. That was insanely hard for me. Waking up at 1 in the morning, someone pounding on my door, going, Colton is dead. Colton is dead. And it was supposed to wake up my mom. But I woke up too. I don't know why. I wish I would have just stayed asleep. It would have been easier. But I woke up and I walked over to my uncle's house with my mom. And my cousin Colton had shot himself. And I was just in this daze. It was in the middle of the night. I didn't know what was going on. I was just kind of static. I was sitting with my aunt while we were waiting for, the authorities to arrive and all that jazz. And after they had taken Colton away, my aunts were upstairs where he was living in the top of their garage, and they were trying to clean up. I don't know why. I have no idea why. To this day, I don't know why. But I walked up those stairs, and I helped rip up the bloodstained carpet, and I just really have a hard time dealing with that still. And I don't talk to people about it because that was the point in my depression where I realized how depressed I was too. So the past couple of years have been really hard as I've battled off and on with my own depression. I've never gone to a therapist, even though I wanted to. I'm really terrified of that. And I feel like I was never asked by the people who knew what I went through if I needed to go to a therapist. And so I never did. And my depression just got to a point where there were nights when I could not go home. I could not go home. I did not want to be around anybody. I would call up my friends and ask, can we please go to Denny's tonight? Can we please go do something tonight? And I'd get a group of them together and we'd go somewhere, and I would just sit there and listen to my friends talk, and it's like, yeah, I want to be part of your conversation, but I can't because I have this overwhelming urge to go out and kill myself right now, and I don't know how to deal with that. Sorry, I didn't know how emotional this vlog would make me. Apparently it's making me really emotional. I tried talking. I've had a hard time the past couple years too with medication because of dating my ex and because he abused it, and that terrified me. And I know I have kind of an addictive personality, and antidepressants scare the living shit out of me. Of stories of people stopping using them or them changing their personality so much terrify me. They terrify me so much to where I never want to be on antidepressants. I never want to have to deal with that. And so I found different ways to try to cope, through music and through being around people who make me happy and through reading and writing. And it's taken a lot of years though. These past couple years, like even a couple months ago, I have this private blog where I put these thoughts down sometimes where I feel like I can't blog them and I can't share them with anyone because I'm worried that people are going to be like, oh my god, we need to help Jana right now. And maybe that's what I should be doing. Maybe I should get the help. But I'll get on this blog and I'll scroll through and it's like, that was 3 months ago where I wrote this post where I just had this overwhelming urge to drive into oncoming traffic on the way home. It was a great day. Great, beautiful day. Nothing went wrong. Work was great. And I'm driving home and all I want to do is kill myself. And that's terrifying. I've never been to a therapist. I've never been clinically, diagnosed as depressed, but I feel like I'm pretty 107% sure that I struggle with depression. And so it's been a long couple of years. This last April I moved out of my parents' house, and it has been the best 5 months of the past 5 years so far. I have really great friends who support me and who know that when I'm depressed, sometimes I like to be left alone, but other times I just want to go out and do something. I need to be around people, because when I'm around people, I trust myself. I know that eventually I will get in a better mood. I know that if we go eat at a certain place, it will make me feel better. I know if we talk about a certain subject, it will make me feel better. So the past couple months have been really good, and I feel like I'm finally starting to get out of that constantly depressed state. I really hope I am, because I can't live the rest of my life depressed. That's terrifying. And whenever I see people who are struggling like that, I get really overwhelmed because I just want to help them. I just want to make them feel better, and sometimes I feel like there's nothing I can do because sometimes I don't know how to make me feel better. But then I remember that I do feel better. And there are reasons why I feel better. There's certain people as to why I feel better. There's certain books that help me feel better. There's music I can listen to and I instantly feel better. And I feel like everyone needs to find that thing that makes them feel better and cling to it and expand it and use it and share it with people. And I don't know where this vlog is going. Basically, I struggle with depression on a daily basis, and it was really bad, but it's been a lot better now. And I hope if you're struggling too, that it gets better for you. It does get better. It will get better one day. I know it seems like a really far-fetched idea, but it does get better. And yeah, I'm just gonna end this vlog now. What a great way to start my day, bawling to myself in my empty apartment. Yeah, great. Well, hope everyone has a good day and feel better about yourself. Love yourself before letting other people love you, because you're the most important person in the universe. I don't care what anyone else says. So